Hello, guys. Welcome to a new series. This is Dragon Imagination, and in this series, I'm going to be attempting to teach you guys how to draw. So, in the first video, we're going to be touching on the bare bones of supplies that you will need on drawing, and then I'll even touch on a few extra things that you can get or that you may want to look into down the road as we get into more uh, different different topics when it comes to drawing. So as you can see with supplies, we're going to keep it simple. The first thing we're going to be talking about, of course, is pencils. You need something to draw with. And even though there's tons of different sayings out there, like you can draw with a stick, you can draw with pens, color pencils, crayons. We're going to keep it basic. We're going to keep it with pencils. I do know people out there draw with pens, so that way they can build that confidence and learn how to work with their mistakes. We're going to use pencils. It's okay to erase. It's okay to make mistakes. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, especially if you're just learning how to draw. So with pencils, there's a few different kinds. One of them I don't have listed on here, but I will kind of touch base on. So your most basic go-to that you'll be able to find almost anywhere around the world, of course, is your basic wood pencil. These are pretty cheap. You can get a pack of 12 for maybe $3 before tax or after tax. And then, of course, you have your mechanical pencils. Brand doesn't matter. These are just two that I personally own myself from the right hand side and on the left hand side. With mechanical pencils, you have different thicknesses when it comes to the lead that you will have to buy. Mechanical pencils can range from a 0.2, a 0.3, a 0.5, a 0.7, and a 0.9. When you start getting into thicker leads, then you start getting more into lead holders. And I don't have a picture of those, but if we're just talking about simplicity and trying to keep everything within a small budget, these would be your go-to options. With wood pencils, if you are going to buy wood pencils, I would recommend a name brand for the simple fact that I think that these pencils are a little bit higher quality than the cheaper ones. They sharpen a little bit better. They don't break as often. This particular brand that I have on here are very good. No issues with these for just basic writing or if you're learning to draw. So either get a mechanical pencil, make sure you get some additional lead that will match the size of the mechanical pencil that you are using, or find you a set of 12 wood pencils. The next thing is going to be erasers. Of course, as we learn to draw, we're going to be making mistakes, and we need something to erase those mistakes. The ones that I would recommend, even if you are buying a mechanical pencil, and these have erasers on them, but I would recommend, especially if you have a pencil like the one on the right hand side, those erasers are very small. They will not last you very long. So I would recommend getting like a click eraser. You can buy them in a single pack or even a 2-pack or a pack of 3. Those are going to be like your basic size, like pencil erasers. just more eraser than, of course, a standard pencil. And then you have your big erasers. These are for your big mistakes. Um, these are the high polymer erasers. Now, when it comes to the bigger erasers or even the smaller erasers, the only recommendation I would make with erasers would be do not get the standard, the pink erasers, though I feel like those are a lot rougher. They might make smears or marks on your paper that you can't remove. I feel like the polymer erasers are great erasers. They're easy on the paper. They're a lot softer erasers, and I feel like they just seem to work a lot better. So if you're going to buy external erasers, I don't care what the brand is, um, just try to go for a more like a high polymer, like white eraser. I feel like they work better personally. So the next thing, of course, is paper. You need something to draw on. And because we're going fairly cheap and we're going to be drawing a lot, practicing a lot, things like that, the best bang for your buck is going to be computer paper. You can buy a ream, which is 500 sheets, and you're probably going to spend, no matter the brand, unless you're going like really high quality printer paper, you're going to be spending anywhere from like 5 to maybe $8 before tax. And I'm if depending if anyone's watching this outside of the United States, I'm talking about US dollars. So just do a conversion to what that might be in your country. It might be a little bit higher, a little bit less. So I recommend computer paper because, like I said, you're going to get the most bang for your buck. We're going to be doing a lot of practicing. You're going to be doing a lot of practicing. Um, if whether you're following along or in your own time, I feel like computer paper, and because you're getting so much, allows you to really not be afraid to experiment and try new things, and you're not afraid to mess up because the paper is not as precious as if it was in a sketchbook. You can spend $10 to $20 for a sketchbook, and you may only get like 50 sheets, versus you can spend, excuse me, you can spend $7 and you have 500 sheets. And you can, use the front and back if you decide to do that as well. Now, of course, if you're using wood pencils, you're going to need to sharpen those pencils. And these would be my 3 recommendations. You have your small eraser or sharpeners. You have your handheld sharpeners. And technically, I guess the smaller ones are also handheld, but you have your bigger handheld sharpeners where the pencil shavings are actually collected, and then you have your electric sharpener. You can get whatever you want, personal preference. Of course, if you go with an electric eraser or a manual pencil sharpener that catches the shavings, of course you're going to be spending a little bit more money for those. If you do decide to get one of a sharpener like the one on the left, the only recommendation that I would make would be to make sure that the body of the sharpener are one of the metal body sharpeners. I feel like they sharpen the pencils better. They prevent less breakage with pencils. Um, and even with the plastic body ones, you can replace the blade with these if you're old enough, or get a parental guardian to replace the blades. I just feel like the metal body sharpeners work a lot better, so I would recommend those over the plastic body sharpeners. But you know, if you need to go cheaper, go with whatever works for you. Now we're going to get into optional supplies. Once again, these are all optional. The necessities of starting to draw, that should range anywhere from like $10 on the very, very low end to maybe like $20. The main things that I think you're gonna, if you spend a little bit more money on, is going to be the paper, depending on what you get. Like I said, because this can range anywhere from $5 to around $8 for 500 sheets, which still isn't bad, but that's going to be on the higher end, like that $8 or so. And then the pencils, depending on the type of mechanical pencil that you get, or you can buy like a pack of mechanical pencils. Um, Mechanical pencils can get a little bit pricier. The fancier they get. An example would be I have a mechanical pencil that is $20 just for one. And maybe one day I'll show like a live video of the supplies that I do have. It's the majority of the supplies that I do have, and the ones that I really like are my go-to. So, like I said, you're going to be going roughly between $10 to $20 for the necessities of drawing. Now we're going to go into the things that are optional. So the first thing I would recommend if you decide to do anything that's optional would be to get a binder and sheet protectors. And the reason for this would be to be able to keep your lessons, your drawings, anything that you're learning, whether it be from me or other creators, books, videos, courses, anything like that. You can keep all of that together in a binder. You can put two sheets in one sheet protector so that way you can have something on the front side and something on the back side if you're not drawing on both sides of a piece of paper. And then you can put that in your binder and you can always have it for quick reference. I'll maybe show you guys the binder that I have, where I have all of the things that I feel like I need to be able to quick reference, have notes on some of these drawings, and it just allows me to keep everything organized. And of course, you can always, with a binder, you can take things out, rearrange them, close it, put it up, you're good to go. I have a 1-inch binder, and that works fairly well for me. I think I'm able to hold about maybe 250 sheet protectors and a 1-inch binder. So it's a great investment if that's something you're looking to get into. The next optional thing here, it would be your artistic pencils. You have different brands. You can find you can find at least the Faber-Castell and the General's Kimberly, usually at any type of art store or uh, big box stores. If you can't find any of these supplies, of course, you can always order stuff online and have it sent to you with whatever online shopping platform you prefer. The next things would be blending stubs. These can get a little pricey, and the blending stubs, of course, are on the right hand side. These can get a little pricey, but for the most part, you should be able to, if you do look into buying these, you should be able to get them at a fair, fairly, oh my gosh, my English is not Englishing, fairly reasonable price, uh, depending on the size of these and how many you get. They can range from very small to very larger ones, as you can see from the image on the bottom right. So fairly reasonable. There we go. Fairly reasonable. It's like my English is not Englishing. So if you would like to get blending stubs, that is an option. Uh, If you don't want to get blending sub, there's always alternatives. You can use like tissue or even Q-tips, but these are a good investment if that is something you'd like to work with and later on down the road. So here we have on the left-hand side, we have drawing boards. We have two different styles. The top one is one that you is more portable. You can take it with you. You can put it in your lap. You can lean it against the edge of a table. Drawing boards are to help you to draw straight on versus possibly drawing skewed images because you're looking down at the paper at an angle. So these kind of help you draw more accurately. So that way, especially if you're drawing like figures, you're not drawing them elongated, like near the top versus the bottom because of how you're viewing the paper. I have both of these. I have one of each. I have a drawing board and then I have like a drawing table. The drawing boards come in a variety of different sizes. You can buy something that's, I think, like 11 by, I think, like maybe 14, maybe something a little bit smaller, just depending. And then, of course, the drawing table, which is the one on the bottom, they can, you can find ones that are fairly small to be about the size, a little bit larger than like a size of computer paper, which is 11 by 8.5, or 8.5 by 11 with inches in America, or you can find them that were a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, just depending on what you prefer and the space that you have to work in. On the top right, we have illustration paper. It's Bristol paper. There's different types of paper out there that you can work with. This is more for if you want to do a drawing that's going to be more of a finished drawing and you want it to be, excuse me, on more sturdier paper that's you plan on being able to showcase this work. You want to have it on more professional paper. So you can use something like Bristol paper or other paper that's out there. With paper in general, including within sketchbooks, you're going to have different types. Now you're going to have different types of thickness. You're going to have anything from like what they call cold press, which is going to be more textured, or hot press, which is going to be a smoother texture. You're going to have different types of color. You can have off-white, you can have white, you can have, excuse me, gray tone paper, you can have brown toned paper, you can have, there's even black drawing paper out there that's used more for if you have like more neon type color pens, pencils, paints, things like that. Paper has a huge variety, so it's going to be experimenting and finding out what you like better than the other, because what works for me might not work for you, and what works for you might not work for me. When it comes to sketchbooks, outside of the paper choices, you have different types. You have the ones that are stitched for the binding, and then you also have ones that are spiral bound. Each one has their pros and cons, of course, depending on what you prefer. If you're looking for something that you can kind of lay flat and be able to draw on both sides of the paper, if you're doing like a larger image and not having a spiral in the way that can kind of break that image up, then of course the stitch binding is going to work better. If you prefer being able to fold over your sketchbook and even have the option to tear out the pages with a clean tear, then most likely the spiral bound is going to work best for you, just due to Most of these spiral bound sketchbooks that I have seen have perforated pages that allow you to tear out the paper. Sketchbooks, like anything, like the illustration papers or fancier paper, is going to be personal preference. Experiment, see what you like. Um, Once again, with sketchbooks, you're not going to get as much paper as you would if you were just buying a ream. And I feel like with sketchbooks, people are a little bit, especially sometimes the newer artists are a little bit more precious with their sketchbooks. So that's why, and sketchbooks are, I mean, they're sketch books. They hold your sketches in it. So it's not meant to really hold anything like finished pieces. I mean, you can do finished pieces, of course, in sketchbooks, but they're really meant for you to kind of get your ideas out, practice, experiment, things like that. If you do decide to get a sketchbook, don't think that you have to show your sketchbook to people. I have tons of sketchbooks, and there are many sketchbooks that no one has ever been able to, like, no one has ever seen the inside of. And that's okay. You don't need to show off your any art or sketches that you don't want to show off. So I just want to put that in there. So that way, if you decide to get a sketchbook, don't feel like you have to have every piece in there be perfect. A sketchbook is there for you to sketch, experiment, try new things, work things out, and just have fun with. So there's that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is posable figures. So at some point in time within this drawing course, we will talk about human anatomy and figure drawing. And when it comes to if you're looking to buy some type of posable figure for drawing poses, these are the two out of the three that I would recommend. I'll talk about the third one in a second. So the first one is called Bodycoon. You can order those online. Now they have three different versions. They have the male version, they have the female version, and I think they have like a chibi version. With these, I would specifically recommend if you're going to buy them, buy the male version. Even if you want two figures, so that way you can draw like interacting poses, I would recommend buying two male figures. I do have the female and the male version, but for me, and I think other people that have reviewed these figures, the female figure seems to be a little bit less high quality than the male figure, which is unfortunate. But when we get to the sections on drawing the figure, we will discuss the female and male figure and even work on taking a male centered figure and posing that and then just changing that to make it a female figure versus male figure. The next one at the bottom right here are called sticky bones. Now, I actually just recently got these. These figures are more on the high end. They're pricier. They're more meant for, well, they are meant for figure drawing, but they also are also to help with stop animation. So frame by frame stop animation. So these are a little bit more pricey. I think for one figure with the metal plating, or I prefer the fly rig that they have as an option. They are about 89 bucks, I'm pretty sure. And when we get into figure drawing, I will bring both of these figures out to kind of show you guys the pros and cons of each one. But with the sticky bones, like the feet and hands are magnetic, so they allow you to be able to, with the metal plate they have, you're able to do more extreme poses and not have to worry about having to hold the figure. With the fly rig that is an option, it allows you to either create more extreme angles or create poses like flying poses, falling poses, jump kicking poses, stuff like that without having to hold the figure. So that's an option if you would like to get those. Like I said, they definitely are on the pricier end, but they are worth the money. And then the last thing that is optional would be either a basic phone with a camera or a simple point and shoot camera. Those, I mean, you can find those anywhere. You can find them online, or you can even find them at like pawn shops or even like garage sales where people are trying to get rid of them. These things are going to be beneficial if you're trying to take pictures of just everyday life. You see something out and about, and you want to maybe draw it later or attempt to draw it later. You take a picture of it. If you're looking at you know, textures and how light interacts and things like that. That allows for you to take pictures. When we start talking about drawing the figures and poses, if you don't have like a posable figure, which I will go back here real quick, with the posable figures, I do not recommend the wood mannequins that you normally see in art stores. They can be beneficial for certain things, but I think when it gets more into really learning the figure and posing, they have a lot of limitations. So that's why I recommend something like these. The third option that I said these are the two out of the three I would recommend. The third option would be like a posable toy figure that you can pick up at like a big box store. Something where you can move the torso, bend the arms, move the head, and at least bend the legs and feet. So that way you can create a lot of poses. Maybe not, you might not be able to create extreme poses, but you can definitely create some more interesting poses and being able to view that from different angles. And most of the time, those figures have some type of anatomy on them. But if even if they don't have like clear anatomy on them, you can at least use them to kind of get a general idea of what a pose will look like. But going back to the camera, like a point and shoot or just a simple phone with a camera on it, if you can't find maybe a pose online or you're an angle or something like that, one of the options would be to either set your phone up against something and set a timer to take a picture of yourself in that pose, or have a friend or family member or something pose for you and you take pictures so that way you can reference that later. Hopefully that those are your like the most basic go-tos when it comes to something that's going to be cheap that'll allow you to take pictures of the outside world, of poses, things like that, so that way you can have that reference. So overall, that's all I have for right now when it comes to learning how the things that you will need to learn how to draw. Like I said, the basic supplies, the most basics of basics, that's going to run you probably about $10 to $20. And of course, you have the optional stuff. Out of everything optional, out of all the optional things, the things that I would definitely recommend would be the binder and sheet protectors, and then some type of basic phone with a camera or like a point and shoot camera. So that way you can work out poses, you can work out like lighting, you can take pictures of things that you find interesting, um, pictures of textures, pictures of lighting. because that's stuff that you can always go back and reference. We'll talk about more when we get to anatomy, the different posing figures, and then even like possible apps that you can use. Um, you know, paper, if you're just starting out, just keep it simple and just go and buy a ream of paper. Even though I have gone over everything with you guys digitally within this program, when I start teaching you guys how to draw, I will be doing everything traditionally. I will be pulling out computer paper, which I have. I'll be pulling out my mechanical pencils. Um, I'm from time to time I might even use one of my art pencils. Kind of go through maybe the 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 hard leads and the soft leads if you decide to purchase artistic pencils. Um, Regular basic 2H pencil that I have will be everything will be traditional because I want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable learning everything um, the same way I'm teaching it, and I don't want you to feel that there's a barrier between what I'm using and what you guys have. So I'll be keeping the tools as simple as possible. Like I said, outside of maybe touching base on the artistic pencils and kind of maybe touching at some point later on down in the course the blending stubs and the things that you can use and the effects that you can create with those. I will keep everything pretty simple when it comes to the computer paper, uh, the erasers, the pencils. You guys more likely see me using the mechanical pencils, and then you'll hear my electric sharpener if I need to sharpen my pencil, if I'm using a wooden pencil in the background. But we're going to keep everything simple so that way you guys feel comfortable learning. You don't feel like there's a barrier because I'm using something that you don't have, or you feel that you need the tools that I have to create art. You can create art with a simple H2 pencil and some paper. So I hope this was beneficial for you guys. I hope you really understand that when you're creating art, you really don't need a lot of supplies. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You just need some basic tools to work with and the practice and dedication that you'll need to perfect your skills, and you'll, hopefully start creating the art that you want and that you enjoy over time. In the next video, we're going to be talking about what will actually be what I'll be actually teaching you guys, and what I plan to hopefully be able to achieve within this this online course. And I say online because, of course, it is online. It's going to be on YouTube. Everything is going to be free. I don't plan on putting anything behind a paywall. I feel like for me, this is something that I can do to try to contribute to the art community. And I I know I struggle trying to find a lot of things to help me improve and get better in my art, and I want to be able to give that to others, especially for those who can't afford to have to spend money on tons of art courses or books, or try to find the knowledge through tons of YouTube videos. So I'm going to wrap it up right now. Like I said, in the next video, we'll kind of touch base on what I want to try to work to teach you guys. So thank you guys so much for this, for taking the time to watch this video, listen to this video. If you have any questions, if there's anything that you would like me to touch base on, whether it be supplies or what you would want to learn in videos, go ahead and make a comment. Let me know. So that way, if it's something that I already don't have planned, I can try to make sure I kind of touch base on. So thank you guys once again and take care. Bye.